Final Fantasy XVI is the latest game of the Final Fantasy series. Recently, a free demo was released of the game, and I decided to try the free demo. Now, I'm somebody who went into this demo very skeptical because to me, Final Fantasy 15 was a very disappointing game. I found that the story was very rushed, and I found that the gameplay in the game had a lot of flaws. So, does the Final Fantasy 16 demo give me hope that the game might be better than Final Fantasy 15? Watch this review to find out. So, Final Fantasy 16 starts off and you're playing the role of Clive, the main character. And there's this big war going on at the beginning of the demo, and then it kind of goes from there. So, the first thing I'll say with this game is that the demo starts very slow. In the first hour of playing the demo, I fought 2 battles. One was a tutorial battle teaching the controls of the game, and another was a story battle where I played as the icon, which is like a summon in Final Fantasy 16, the summon Phoenix, and it was like a story battle that you played through. The rest of the entire first hour of the demo, it was all cutscenes, talking to people, and walking around. There was very little combat or gameplay in the first hour of the demo. So that was a very big concern for me early on in the demo, was the very low amount of gameplay there was and how it was just non-stop story scenes. Fortunately, once you get past the first hour of the demo, you get to an area where there's a lot more combat and the gameplay to story ratio becomes a lot more balanced and there's a lot less cutscenes and a lot more gameplay. In Final Fantasy 16, based on what I played in the demo, there is not a world map or a big open world to explore. Instead, you exit an area and then you go to a world map area where you can choose a location to go to. You select the location and you automatically go to there. Alright, so next up, the big thing we're going to talk about, the big thing a lot of people want to hear about is how is the combat and how is the gameplay? Is it better than Final Fantasy 15? In terms of the combat, I am glad to say it is better action RPG combat than Final Fantasy 15. The combat in the game definitely controls better than Final Fantasy 15. And during battle, you get regular slashes you can do against enemies, you get spells you can do, and then you get also icon abilities, which are powerful abilities that have a big cooldown. They can either do big damage or they have really unique effects that change how you fight. There's also a dodge you can do to dodge enemy attacks, and like some other action RPG games, there's a mechanic where you are rewarded for dodging an attack at the last moment. This is a gameplay mechanic in FF15 called Precision Dodge. So my first criticism of the combat early on in the demo was that I felt like you didn't get really many different abilities during combat. Early on in the game, I was mostly just using the one Phoenix icon ability you get, which is called Rising Flame. And I would use it, and then there'd be like a big, long 30-second cooldown before I could use it again. And I had no other abilities or special attacks, so all I could really do was my regular fire spell or a regular sword slash. And I had no other abilities. Thankfully, this was a problem that was solved in the second half of the demo, where you get access to a lot more icon abilities. Now, my second problem with the combat early on was that there was a lot of quick time events. And what I found out is that it was because of a piece of equipment I had equipped. In Final Fantasy 16, the developers put these rings in the game that basically make the action combat of the game a lot easier. It's intended to do that. And once I found this out and I unequipped that ring, then I had to do regular dodging, and the dodging and the combat became a lot more complicated in a good way. It forced me to pay a lot more attention, and I really had to learn the enemy attacks, dodge at the right time, and fight the enemies in a way that forced me to really pay attention to what the enemies were doing. Now, once you beat the first half of the demo, you unlock something called the Iconic Challenge, and this could be considered the second part of the demo. This is a part of the game where you get a lot more icon abilities, and you can swap between the icon abilities at any time, and you get Phoenix abilities that basically hit enemies with fire. You get the wind abilities, which can hit enemies up into the air, allowing you to do air combos, which are very awesome. And then there's Titan's abilities, the Earth icon, and basically his brings up a unique mechanic where you got to charge his reticule along a line and you have to stop it at the right time to do extra damage. And his abilities can knock enemies down and hit enemies far away. And they do a lot of damage, but they're a little bit slower than other abilities. This part of the game was where the combat became a lot better, and the iconic challenge part of the demo was actually surprisingly challenging. I actually died multiple times on the boss at the end of it, and the challenge really impressed me in that regard. Aside from the gameplay, the story itself definitely seemed better than Final Fantasy 15. I did like Clive, the main character, and the other characters that they talked about in the story seemed pretty cool too, like Joshua. I don't really want to spoil anything in the story, but there was some pretty crazy story events that happened. My main criticism with the story from what I saw in the demo was that there was a lot going on, and some of it really didn't feel like it was that well explained. And now we got the final two things of the game, the music and the graphics. So musically, I think the music was decent in the game. I really liked the music that played in the Stillwind area. Most of the soundtrack was pretty good. I wouldn't say like amazing. There was a few good songs here and there, but I also wouldn't say any of the music was bad. And then the last thing is the graphics in the game and the performance. So in terms of the graphics and the performance, I played on both the graphics mode and the performance mode. I tested both modes. In both of the modes, I noticed that there was slowdown and basically major frame rate drops causing slowdown during like battles or cutscenes. So that is one thing I hope is improved in the final release of the game. In terms of the graphics and how they looked, on the graphics mode, the game looked pretty good. But on the performance mode, the graphics went way down. And so the graphics were a little disappointing in the game. That is an area where the game needs to be improved. Overall, though, the game is definitely better than Final Fantasy 15. The demo does give me more hope in the game. But me personally, I'm going to wait past the release of the game. I'm not going to buy it at release. I'm going to wait for reviews to come out, see what people think about the game, see what's written in reviews and what people say. And then if I hear a lot of good stuff, a month or two maybe after the game comes out, or if the game gets a major price drop, I'll go out and I'll buy it and I'll try it for myself. But either way, thank you all so much for watching. Really greatly appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and also follow me over on Twitch. Thank you all so much for watching the video. Really greatly appreciate it. And I will see you all in the next video. Thank you all so much.